Hello, everybody. It says we're online. It looks like it disconnected and reconnected, so I'm going to give it a minute. Now it says we're back online with Twitch, sending data. I'll believe it when I believe it when I see it. YouTube, now I'm live. Great. Heck is going on? Oh, silly networks. This is why we can't have nice things. I'm not sure if anybody is still there. A lot of dropped frames. Weird. I'll just keep working. We'll see what happens. Hello, everybody. It looks like we're finally coming back to life. For some reason, the network seemed to drop from Restream to both, or through my network to both YouTube and Twitch. So we lost both of them. I'm really sorry about that. It kind of makes me more excited about possibly being a Twitch exclusive person again. Mostly because, you know, I'd like to know who to blame. That should read, instead of your messages, that should read error messages. Uh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, Twitch and YouTube both uh, dropped out. I'm not sure if it was Restream or my personal network, so I apologize for that. Go to MatCap and see if that's showing me anything more about these particular models. But you didn't miss much. I was just working on these, adding texture to these hats. This hat, the various segments. One of the things about it is I have to keep the little brush stroke very short, because if I drag too long, like, it starts to scale up the size of the texture we have there. I apologize for the technical problems. Well, as I was saying, if you're a fan of, I keep mentioning the show Critical Role, which is a D&D stream that's on Twitch on Thursday nights. They stream on YouTube as well. They're kind of like the giant of gaming streaming right now in terms of role-playing tabletop stuff, and it's lovely. All the people involved are voice actors. But for charity a few years ago, the DM of that hosted Stephen Colbert in a game for Red Nose Day, and they're showing a new version this evening. Which one was it? So now I know how to make a coconut. So they're doing a version tonight, which will be a number of cast members and Colbert playing a game for charity. So that should be fun. The topics covered on Pencil to Pencil, usually I'd say 60 to 70% of the time it's an interview show. And the concept is that cartoonists talking to other cartoonists. And it's a diverse group of cartoonists from a wide range of cartooning discipline's the wrong word, but outlets. There are people who do storyboards for TV and film. There are newspaper cartoonists. There are comic book artists. That's probably the predominant one. There are people who do young adult graphic novels, like the Scholastic and more young adult book market, those kind of cartoonists. And they basically just talk shop and talk, how people got into it, talk about creativity, how they maintain their creativity, how they shape their stories. Tons of interesting bits. I was a guest on it one time a few years back. Really enjoyed it. I'm not going to embed this feather into the cap just yet. I usually have it kind of tucking in as if there was a tear in the cap and they kind of slid the stem of the feather through. Because if that is the case, it should also bend in the other direction. Let's see if I can get that to behave. But it's very helpful for creative people, I think, to see that show and that Pencil to Pencil podcast, especially where one of the co-hosts, Jamar Nicholas, is in his career. His first book is coming out from Scholastic Graphics, and he's been at comics for a while. He's got a wonderful style, a great voice. To me, what the cartoonists I like are ones whose work seems integrated in a way, like all the pieces fit together. and his work has that quality. Yeah, again, folks coming back, I'm sorry about that. I saw the notification myself. Hey, Steve's streaming again. So I apologize that we dropped out there for a moment. Usually that should only happen if I'm about to be raided by 460 people. I'm going to remesh this. I feel like it's... Well, no, that's very high res. Oh, gosh. Those little tendrils that come up when you remesh a complicated shape. It's really weird. So creepy. I want to find a way to use that effect. Like, turn it into something that I can use for good. Smoothing tends to eradicate them. See if it... Yeah, see, they just sort of vanish. The tricky bit is, when you zoom in, they're still there, just floating in space as part of the geometry. So it's weird. So that's one of the reasons why, when if I have to print these things later on, what I will do is I'll run them through a program like Mesh Mixer, which can analyze the models for these kinds of flaws. Well, good. That's why we did it. Yeah, exactly. I'm not doing this unless V is here. What's the point? But we have but the thing does say free book, and so how do I, let me do this one more time. There is a free book for everybody. If they go to my site, they can download that. They just be sure to use the checkout code, that code at checkout, and you get download a free digital edition. So I got a notification on the Facebook that today was the 1-year anniversary of my last Kickstarter launching, which was amazing because it got funded in an hour. And it was for my older work. It was for the middle age. I thought, who remembers this thing? Does anybody even care? And let's say middle age for Astounding Space Thrills. My brain is mush. It was for Astounding Space Thrills, and yeah, the turnout was fantastic. So I think what I want to do for this, I want to add texture, but I'm going to use the mask tool. I want to use a brush with the stabilizer on, make it easy for me. I'm going to customize this brush a bit and see if I can... Oh! For the love of... Hello! Let me make sure I can see that again. I saw a biggie. Let me get StreamYards up here. Thanks for the follow. I have to get that sound to set to something that's not terrifying to me. But if you see in the chat there's a link to download a book, a free book from my website, and I'll be mentioning that throughout the stream. So again, have this thing up here. It'll tell me your name again, so I didn't miss it. Biggie Boo, thanks for the follow. So I'm working in Nomad Sculpt right now. I do a webcomic called The Middle Age, and in it there is a ridiculous hat. And so I'm making a 3D sculpt of that hat right now. There's a picture of it over there, and so it's pretty silly. Alright, so I hit the solo button, and there's a couple of feathers on the hat. I'm only going to do one feather, and I'm going to repeat it and then tweak it a little bit. I'm not going to... This is not for 3D printing purposes. A lot of the models you see in the bottom right corner there are designed for 3D printing. And this is much more for illustration purposes. Sort of like this thing, which these things should appear below. Those are some models that I illustrated on the stream and then took them into Photoshop and added the splatter and all the silly D&D type effects. Okay, so we're going to get in the mask layer with a nice small brush. And I'm going to draw in using that stabilizer. That keeps my lines nice and smooth, even if my hand is shaky. So again, I was talking before about Critical Role. I really enjoy that show. It's again D&D stream, and they have a special episode tonight, which is great for people who just want to check it out for the first time. They've got Stephen Colbert on there, and they're having a simple campaign for charity. Campaign's the wrong word. They're going to have a simple adventure for charity. Okay, so with those in place, let me see if I can extract a little bit of, just a little bit, not a lot, a little height to create some variety. Okay, let me merge that with the feather itself. Oh, not simple merge, excuse me. I want to voxel merge them. Keep sharp edges? Maybe not. Turn the resolution way up. Again, if I were 3D printing this, I would be running. I would not want to do that. What was interesting is in the pen, I adjusted the fall off. One of the things we noticed before was when you're drawing, especially in Nomad Sculpt, the where you first start your brush can have a real impact, like I don't know, like a chisel, and then as you drag, it's smoother. What I decided to do was this part here of the line, keeping that nice and low, so the initial impact is very small, but only once you start to apply pressure does it start to, you know, kick in. And I find that that's creating much less of that problem we were experiencing for, not we, I was experiencing it, you all were fine. Okay, so I'm going to merge these things together. Maybe not so much. Now we'll take the smooth tool, turn symmetry off, because that's always unexpected. That leads to unexpected results. And I'm just going to go in here and smooth some of this out. Maybe with a bigger brush, get it done faster. Again, it's pretty chunky looking, but I think when we zoom out, it won't look quite so crude. Fingers crossed. I'm putting a little more emphasis on smoothing out the sections toward the center of the leaf, or the feather, excuse me. Or leaf. I guess I could do the same thing for a leaf texture. I don't hate that. Again, I'm winging it. I don't know what I'm doing. Winging it was not meant to be a pun. Okay. That's a very stupid hat. I think it's coming along excellent. Very well. Very, very well. Let me make these eyes a bit larger. Okay, so we have the basic pieces. We've got the feather, we've got the dumb feet. I can make the dumb feet a little larger. I'm going to go into a better lighting situation since I'm going to start coloring these things the way they're supposed to actually be colored. Okay. Let's start by coloring the hat. Maybe a little more yellow. Maybe not. Yeah, the lighting is weird in this environment. I have to take a look at these lights. Yeah, see that greenish environment we have here? That's reflected in everything, so that's why everything was feeling a little green. Let me get some more lights in here. And again, this is a global light, I think it's called. Directional. And so this one just doesn't really exist in the environment in any place. It's just sort of saying, here's some light coming from the sun a bazillion miles away, and all the light that it shines is parallel, and there's no real sense of its origin, just its direction. So you can see the shadows it's casting on the eyeballs. I do like that. Like, you can see the shadow that it's casting, that the eyeballs are casting on the rest of the hat. I do like that. That's excellent. But I can make it a bit brighter. Yeah, that's excellent. That's ridiculous. I'm going to go through, I think, and add some more creases and divots to the hat. I think I need to do that just to make sure that looks worn. Hey! YouTube or Twitch? Both. The stream failed on both of those, so thank you all for coming back. That was awful. I'm surprised I didn't have like a million people come barging through at that moment, like a ton of a huge raid, and then the whole thing collapses. Increasing the roughness is going to make it look more like fabric. I don't know what material the bill of the hat is made in the story. Again, I'm just making this up as I go. Let's assume it's also... No, I want to assume it's a piece of wood that has been carved and connected to the hat. But these feet I want to be soft fabric felt pieces. Just gently connected to the hat. That's ridiculous. And the whole point of this hat, as I mentioned, if you've read the story, it's that our hero has lost consciousness. He comes to, and I wanted to just indicate that a ton of stupid stuff has happened while they were unconscious. And so he's wearing this stupid hat. And then I had to give it a name. That's where the hat of bad deals came from, because only if it were a hat of bad deals would anyone ever trade anything for it, because it's so ridiculous. Okay, so I'm going to sample the hat, that base hat color I have there. I'm going to apply it to all these other pieces. So I select it, hit that, hit paint all. Okay, I think I could do multiple segments at once. I can. And I think at this point I can hit the save button and enjoy a sip of coffee. But thank you, Biggie Boo. Nice to see a new face. DEG is gonna cringe when I say this, but I'm still very new to this Twitch thing. And I know I'm pretty much an old hand at this Twitch thing now, except I keep making horrible mistakes with Twitch, so I think my noobness is well documented at this point. So applying that color, that existing sheen, I want to soften that metal. I don't want it to be like a super shiny metal. The bell has to be just, that's great. I like that a lot. Okay, let's get a couple more lights in here. We've got our main light. Let's bring in some rim lighting in the back of the hat. So we'll add a light. We will select it. It'll be a point light. We will move it. Let's give it a color. Usually a nice orange. Make it bold, a bold color. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I love how the texture of the hat and the super texture of the puffballs are diffusing the light. This feather I want to have roughly the same texture as the hat itself in terms of shininess. Did I do that wrong? I did that wrong. Drag your finger on the mesh to pick a color. Oh, it's acting weird. Okay, so I want it to be a green color, kind of a matte green. I don't know why the feathers have been green. Have I made them green, or I made them white? I did make them white, didn't I? I want them to be off-white. Let's say a nice yellowy white. I guess everything in this environment is going to be the same, roughly the same color. I wasn't really thinking when I made this hat. Yeah, I don't think that feather's working with the lighting on it. Okay, let me smooth some of this out. And if I have to start over with it, I will. Okay, I don't hate that. Let's see if I get an eyeball on here. Let's draw. I want it to be kind of this Kermit the Frog. We want the paint tool. I don't use that very often. We'll use a black color. I'm going to turn the stabilizer way up. Again, I want this to be a nice smooth line. Okay, that'll work right. I just need to increase the mesh of the eye a lot. That will sharpen the line I'm drawing on there. And you can see that lazy rope stabilizer kicking in. That's that red line. I want it to be visible from the angle, so I'm going to start it here. That's ridiculous. I also want it to be a solid black, like all the way. So that table I just drew there should mean that when it starts drawing, it's completely black from the get-go. No, I don't know if that's partly being that I'm drawing on a sphere that's doing that. Increase the intensity of what I'm drawing even more, so hopefully it goes to black even faster. There we go. Ooh, I kind of like the idea that it's a rough line like that. Like it's shoddily made. I really like the idea that this hat is really terrible. Take the intensity down just a little bit. Okay. This is dumb. I'm enjoying it. Okay, one down. Our other one at a weird angle that way. I can do that. And we're in business. And I can also, you know, if I don't like the angle, I can tweak it a little bit here. That's silly. You have a black quill pen? That's cool. Got the slideshow going instead of the wonderful chat. Okay, so we got our... Okay, so we have our pieces basically. We've got our feather, which I always redo in a little bit. We've got our hat. We've got our textures for the hat. Really could put in these dents for the hat itself. Oop. I enlarged the eyeball. Let me try that. Using the crease tool, very small. We'll do symmetry, but very intense. Make it more intense than that. Maybe increase the size a bit. You can see it's having trouble maintaining integrity of the model because there's just so much going on. Oh, and you also see where I failed to fill in the texture of that hat area. You can see underneath there where it goes completely smooth. I'm gonna have to watch that when I start moving the pieces around. You can see those bits of where the brush went over the line. See if I smooth those out. Ridiculous. So I'm very happy. Oh, a black feather in the hat. I think that's a good idea. It's because I haven't done that in the comic. I feel like I have to stick to the silly source material I've set for myself. When I set up at comic conventions, I picked up some ballpoint quill pens just for my sign-up sheet. So it's cute. I think some people just sign up for my mailing list sometimes just to use the weird pen. Music got very quiet. That means at any moment it's going to get really loud again, and I'm going to get scared. Okay. Here's the middle of our world. I hope these grooves are not too deep. Hopefully I'm not making it too much. I don't think so. I think the weirder it looks, the more handmade it looks, the funkier it looks, the more fun it is. I definitely have to put a very strong light at the top of it to catch a lot of this depth that I'm putting in there, and the little tiny brim each one of these segments has. And it's really important to rotate the model as you're working on it, because if you don't, the pressure you're applying starts to go into it starts to glance off the side of the thing and create weird, unexpected effects. All right, this is really silly. I'm loving it. Also, you can see that even though this orange light, which is right there, it's shining and hitting that side of the object, you can also see it's lighting up the inside of the hat, because there's no true shadow effect being created here. These spotlights don't cast shadows the way the directional lights do. It's kind of unfortunate. I wonder if I can create another strong directional light. Let's find out, shall we? Right, so moving its location doesn't change anything. Changing the only thing that changes the angle is the only thing that really affects anything. Because its location in the universe doesn't matter. So this will cast shadows. Huh. I'm gonna turn off my background reference for a moment. Turn on post-processing. That'll give us some glows and some additional shadows and things like that. Don't hate it. Don't hate it. I want to make those poof balls a less white color. I want to tone them down a little bit. I do think I can reduce that orange glow or change the angle just a little bit. Can I edit it while in this preview mode? I think I can. Like there, like that. Just catch the side. It's interesting that some of these other areas, the texture of the hat is falling apart. I guess because the light's so bright. Well, because there's nothing. Oh, I need to have one more light to catch everything. A point light of some kind. That will it'll bring out the texture and everything else. Okay, where is that light? That one's here. That's a point light. And if I do have to go back and add additional texture just to make it clear, I will do that. Yeah, the bill and the legs were more orange. I think the lighting is very is a bit deceptive. But I think I'm gonna bump up the orange on the bill for sure, and the legs. Let's do that now. We need to increase the roughness for the legs, just so it's not quite as shiny plastic. Still catching a lot of light. Maybe if I increase the metalness of the plastic bill a little bit. That way, or plastic, the painted wooden bill. It's a solid gold bill. Okay, now we're talking. I might make the hat color a bit darker brown. I think that's got to happen too. The more light I'm putting into this universe, the richer I want those colors to be. And the rough, no metalness at all. It is we get out of preview mode into gizmo mode so I can see what's being selected. Okay. There might be another section of hat going on there that I don't know about. I think that's the case. Nope. 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 I'm turning pieces of them off now. No, I was wrong. I'm gonna delete those other ones. They were backup pieces that I ended up not needing. Wasn't the building? Yeah, some contrast, additional contrast. I do think I need to add more interesting lighting, and yeah, this hat needs more texture up top. So I'm gonna paint that in. I think I got a little timid there. That or it is the lighting that's really just messing with me. Because that was a fairly strong amount of texture I put on there, and it's not doing anything. Okay, here we go. Next up, what is that light doing? All right, puffball. That's a sweet hat right there. Save where that is. Okay. I deleted one segment of the hat. Okay, let's remember what we did. Oh, 999 levels of undo. And we're back. Thankfully, the system remembers where I left off the colors I was working on, so I don't think I've lost too much. Okay. Let me merge. Go to our item list. By simple merge, do they all take on the same material? No, they don't. Good. I was afraid that they were going to all suddenly turn metallic or something. And they did not. Good, good, good. Okay. So let's grab that section, and we'll take the other set of puff balls and simple merge those. I'm not going to merge the eyes to the other pieces. Okay, now I'm just going to start messing with the shape. Using the, I'm going to save a version. Tell you what, let's be cowardly. I'm going to save a version and call it, have a version 2. I'm going to do a lot of my edits on that. Turn symmetry off, intensity down a little bit. Turn symmetry off. Like symmetry is particular to each segment, so when I adjust things, yeah, like symmetry's on there. I kind of don't mind it on that piece. Look at that from the right. Or rotate that back. I thought those were grouped. Mesh, puff ball, bell. Dagnabbit. Alright, so I want to call that. I have to rename these things. Every time you simple merge stuff, they take on the name of everything else that was in the merged object. So I have a lot of meshes right now. I have way too many meshes. Holy cow. Some things split apart in ways that were unexpected. Holy cow! I wonder if it was the puff balls. I wonder if they burst. Fantastic. I love it. That's crazy. I'm undoing a bit. Yeah, it was that. Oh, gadzooks, what have I done? Alright, so those puff balls are complicated. Yay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's not a problem. Alright, let's call this... Let's start labeling a couple of things, why don't we? Okay. Gadzooks. From the bottom, this is tier 3. We don't count the flaps. Tier 3. Oh, let's spell it something close to correct. And the next one, that's the top. Okay, so if I break the top apart, there's going to be a million objects named top. I can live with that. Boom. All right. So we'll find that in the list, somewhere on this infinite list. No biggie. Holy hell. Kudos to my iPad for holding it together. All right, and then the hat portion, the segment at the top of the list, I bet it is. all the way at the top. My goodness. What have I done? Top segment. Yeah, these puffballs were a bold choice. Okay, so let me see here. If I remove that, if I just slide it out of the way, what's left behind? Lots and lots and lots and lots of little puffy segments. Each one of those little segments is probably a separate bit. That's great. That gives us enough to start with. Let's move back. That means I can remove the main bits of these meatballs, get them the heck out of the way. Is there an easy way to... What the heck just happened? I did not undo. How dare you? Okay, I'm just going to get him out of the way. Where's that one? Or think about another way of doing this. Basically select pieces until I see until I see something get selected that I don't want selected. Okay, those two puffballs are fine. Let's do it that way. Oh, I don't think moving things in their list here does any effect. Okay. So selecting that. And a bunch of pieces, which are very tiny. Nay, invisible. Holy Hannah. I keep waiting for one of the other large puffballs to brighten up when it gets selected, but we're still just selecting microscopic bits of puff. Mistakes were made. Let's not point fingers. Oh my goodness. This is absurd. This hat is everything I wanted it to be. Such a pain in the ass. Oh, I mostly wanted it to vex my hero, not me. I keep waiting for one of the other puffballs to light up. Come on, anybody. I believe it was... Oh, we had a light. We have... There you go. One of them lit up. Okay, we ignore you. We scroll down to the bottom of the list, or die trying. And we're scrolling, we're scrolling, we're scrolling. We are scrolling. Oh, my life. Simple merge. Delete. All right. Look at this. Look at the progress we're making. Oh, heck. Now I'm starting at the bottom of the list now because I have to scroll at the bottom to merge them anyway, so this was going to save me some time. And I keep waiting for something, one of the larger elements to light up. My goodness, this is silly. Oh, it's going to autosave. Oh, and one of them lit up. I like that theory, DEG. Oh, there's our light up. There we go. Turn that off. Boom, 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 boom. Simple merge. And delete. What else got? No, nothing else left. Our hats are still there. The segment's still there. Bell is still there. And it was Jimmy James, I believe, who did the lookup and let me know that I could just drag and select all these objects. Because if I couldn't, I would not be doing this. I would be like trying to come up with some other solution to get around this mess. Turn. There you go. Alright, we scroll to the bottom. For those that doesn't look like we're scrolling, because there's just so many. Simple merge, delete. Look at this. Look how this is coming along swimmingly. But this is a good cautionary tale for this silly program. I'll meet the programmers of this software at some point, and they'll be like, well, you didn't try to make a puffball, did you? There's probably a meeting at one point they had. Oh, for the love of Pete, I just unselected because I was scrolling too quickly. There's probably a meeting at one point saying, I think we have a real problem with the software. I just tried to make a puffball, and it created thousands of objects. Well, don't worry, no one's ever going to do that. I mean, they'd have to be wearing a hat of some pretty bad ideas. Sort of the opposite of a thinking cap. I'm just doing that. I'm merging a few at a time now, just because the more frustrated I get with this, the more weary I'll become, and the more likely I am to screw up. Alright, we have it all, as long as it doesn't... I'm scrolling. I'm simple merging. I'm deleting. And we're back in business. Whenever I'm narrating that, I'm thinking about... I watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs the other day, and I'm thinking about all those things that Flint is doing in his laboratory. Alright, I'm going to save this right now, and I've earned this coffee. But I understand why it's taking the computer so long to think about this project. That means all those other puffballs are going to have exactly the same problem. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Let's not unmerge those. Gadzooks, what have I done? Okay. And we're back. That was very silly. Okay, so I'm going to rotate the hat a little bit. Okay, this is ridiculous. Very ridiculous. DG. Oh, so how's everybody doing? Are you all working on your drawings? Are you all working on the WEBTOON call to action? I was going to work on that, but instead I've decided to just streamline puffballs with my life. That's what I'm doing with my life. I think I'm just going to slide the feather into the, basically drag that into the hat itself, and instead of doing anything fancier than that. I can paint in some creases or something like that to make to accentuate the effect a bit, I think. I do think I want to brighten that feather up just a little bit, though. Okay, so feather. I'm going to remesh it for a very weird reason, just to put it at the bottom of the dang list. This one go behind at a jaunty angle. We're not going to see how it embeds into the hat, so I'm not as concerned about that. I can cheat. So very much unlike the regular 3D models I'm doing, where I'm stuck with the geometry because, you know, it has to print at some point. That is someone with a truck outside making a terrible noise. Quite the ruckus. I think this is coming along very ridiculously. Hey, TND. On the YouTubes, I'm making a comic for Canvas. My ambitions are not big, but I'm scared about people not liking it at all. How do you face those fears so they don't paralyze you? It's tough, especially when you're starting. Because you know how good you want to be, and you know how good you feel about your work, and there's a gulf between where you are and where you want to be. You know, there's this idea of who you are, because so many things in life are tied to identity. Not to get all meta about it, but So you're putting yourself out there, and you're saying, check out my stuff. And if the reaction is less than what you're hoping, and people's expectations vary, and like you're saying, you're couching it in ambitions are not big. So couching it's not like you're hedging it or something like that. It's just more like you're saying, my ambitions are not big. I would like. So I'm not knowing exactly what your ambitions are. It's like it's still challenging because you're putting yourself out there. You're hanging your artwork on a wall during a critique, and everyone has the ability to comment, and you have to brace yourself. Part of it is knowing that there are some people who won't like it. And I mean, that's how I feel about my comic. I put my comic as many places as possible because I know there's a lot of people who just aren't going to dig it. They're going to go and like, with an infinite number of things in the universe to look at, me thinking that anyone's going to spend their time looking at the thing I drew is kind of a tall ask. That anybody does is so sweet, and so I'm so thankful for it. But I don't know. I think knowing that when you put it out there is such a huge step, and accept that as a victory, because it is. For every one person, there's 100,000 webcomics on WEBTOONs right now, and for every one person who posts, there's probably dozens who don't, because of that exact thing you're worried about. So simply putting it up there is huge and worthy of celebration. So I wouldn't worry. It's tough too, because I did this illustration, it's like, okay, I've been doing this for so long, but I'm moving into a new area that I'm not as familiar with in terms of gaming and the role-playing side of that. And I put this thing out there and I think, oh, people are going to dig this. And when it doesn't get the kind of reaction I'm hoping for, it's like when one of us posts something to Twitter, like we upload a picture of our cat and it gets 1 million likes, or to Instagram it gets 1 million likes, and we post the thing we've poured our soul into and it gets 3. Blame the algorithm. Know that everything you do is like going to get you that much closer to being the artist you want to be. When I was in college, I started submitting science fiction stories to science fiction magazines because I'd heard a lot of science fiction writers get rejected. And so I'm like, oh, so many of them got like 50, 100 rejections before they got their first. These established, legendary science fiction authors got tons of rejection letters. So I was like, oh, I'm going to start submitting because I want to start getting my rejections out of the way. So there was no expectation that anybody was going to publish it, and I started getting the rejection letters back. And I'm like, aha, you'll rue the day you rejected me. That sort of thing. So I don't know. I'm excited for your comic. DG, you're very nice. Yeah, but I don't know. I would say just put it out there, and just as long as you're happy with it, and know that you won't be. Know that the second you get to your 5th episode, your first episode will be inferior to the 5th one, because you will have done 4 episodes in the interim and you've gotten 4 episodes better. You're leveling up. And as you get more comfortable with your characters, as you get more comfortable with your style, with the tools you're using, you'll just keep getting better and better and better, to the point where you look back at episode 1, and if you look at the latest episode of my webcomic, it looks so different than the very first one. This is all watercolory and sketchy. I don't know the character that well yet. And my latest episode, there's just a scene of the character with his hand like this, and I'm like, this is the best drawing I've ever done of the character. And if I wanted to, I'd be like, I should redraw everything to make it as good as the thing I just drew. But this was done by a guy 5 years younger than me. He doesn't know what I know. He can't. But for that guy back then, that's pretty good. I think that's how I look at it. And if people don't get it, for me, that's why I build in exit strategies in all my comics. I think, okay, this is going to be 20 episodes or 30 episodes. And when it's done, I'll be like, okay, I'll put a bow on it, and it'll be a self-contained little book that I'll print and I'll have available at my table at a convention or for people to download from Patreon when I work on the next thing. That's more me, because I think that we're... Now this is really rambling. I just think it's about getting as close to who we are as possible, because, you know, Netflix can't stamp out this. Netflix can't do this comic. They can't. Nobody can do this comic. Only me. Nobody would want to. You know, and somebody could do something similar, but if you're putting yourself into it, then nobody else can do it. And so it's kind of like, wow, you have a global monopoly on your work. So, I don't know, just keep at it, and don't let that paralyze you, because the fact that every time you publish something is massive. It's huge, and it's something to be super excited about and proud of. And a lot of people don't have the nerve, unfairly, because they've been told they look at the greatest thing they've ever seen. They look at, you know, they look at their favorite webcomic, the person who's been doing it for 10,000 hours, and they compare their work to that. And that's not fair, because they were where you are now. You might be better. You're probably a better artist where you are in your career and in your life than I was at that same point, or where they were at that point. So, you know, I'd be encouraged. And most successes comes down to luck anyway. So, you know, that's out of your hands. I would just get your work out there and have as much fun as possible, so that when you look back at the piece you did, you can think, man, I had fun doing that. And then you've already succeeded, I think. I said rambling. Meanwhile, back at this very silly hat. Florida man proves old dogs can learn new tricks. I'm still working on my very first few tricks. I'm still trying to get those right. I don't think I've learned a new one anytime soon. I don't think I've learned a new one recently. Now that feather's not attached at all. We're totally faking this. It's more about how it looks from a certain angle. I'm glad there's no gravity in this universe. I hope that is somehow helpful, Taney. But I'm very excited for you. I'm excited for anyone who's going to get their work out there, because it takes a lot of nerve. It takes a lot of courage. But I've always been pleasantly surprised. I first posted on Reddit, and people are like, "Oh gosh, you're gonna prepare yourself. You know, get the ointments ready. You're going to be sore after you post onto Reddit." And I found nothing but positive stuff there. I think if you're a nice person and you're sharing something unique. Ooh, so these are all grouped together, so they're going to move as one. I can see why the computer is chugging as it does that, because we know that it's made of billions of pieces. Oh, my poor computer. How are we doing? So we haven't had much by way of drop frames. We had a few at the start of this, after our little hiccup there. Thank you everybody who came back. Oh, you can't see this sculpt because I'm still got my artwork up. I'm a dope. Hey, dummy, get your... And Twitch. Oh gosh, and Twitch. I think I've mastered Twitch now, he says, while the old artwork is still up on the screen. Alright, I'm going to move these in. I know I was going to just cheat, but let me at least get them somewhat close to the figure. That way their shadows and things can react in some way to what we're seeing. Okay, so that's our angle. That's the angle we want to have the illustration. I do like the way the feathers are resting at this point. That's good. Let's put one more light in the environment. I feel like if I move the segments of the hat back, they'll cast more interesting shadows. even if they're not, even if structurally this wouldn't make a good recipe for making the hat. Oh, I'm good, Tanny. I hope it is. That's very nice. DEG says, y'all, if Elon Musk buys Twitch and brings back Twitch Sings, I'll never say a negative thing about him ever. I like to think we'll still figure out new, interesting, negative things to say about him. Okay. I think this really silly hat is done. And what's good is it's coming up on the 2-hour mark. I'm going to take a little break just as the music starts to get really crazy and dramatic. Okay, I said one more light. One more light. What light will this be? Oh, hey, hello. Let's go to the top view. Select that light, get it out of the way. Let's say a blue light. Blue and orange, having those two things kind of balance each other out, it usually creates a lovely effect. Not cyan, blue. What kind of light is this? This is a point light? Let's bring the intensity of that down a smidge. I'm going to have it come in under the hat. Ooh, spooky. Let's do that. I'm gonna make it more blue. Okay. Where are we? That's ridiculous. I think this is excellent. Let me save. I wonder if it has the fake shadows as well as the regular shadows. I'm gonna check those. Behold! Oh, there's our music. I swear this sounds like Planet of the Apes, the 70s movie where the apes are attacking the humans. It's terrifying. Try some different lights here first before we... Ooh, I do like that warm color. That blue's nice too. Let's stick with a warm color. Do we have our regular drop shadows in? Ambient occlusion, we do. We do. Let's try perspective. I think that blue light's doing weird things with the eyes. Like it's creating that weird highlight there. I do like the reflection on the bell at the top though. Let's say the hat. Let's see if I can get the roughness of the hat down a little bit and pick up more color. A little more. Okay. Oh, dag nabbit. Those puffballs in the third tier are connected to the hat. If I want to change the color of that segment, I have to unselect them from the rest of everything. I have to separate them, creating a billion fragments. Oh, heck. Oh, no. I've made an error. No. Dag it. That's right, I said dag it. Okay. Can I fix it in post? Do I have to do it? I love that brown color was really nice. I want to actually, let's see, make sure I really like it. If I can get it even more orangey. man. That's a pretty color, too. The rest of it's this beige. I don't like the beige. I hate the beige. All right. Dang, 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 dang. Oh, we'll fix it. This will be fine. 1,000 levels 1, 2. It's so loud compared to the other tracks, too. It's so much. I'm so sorry. That's the music. Whenever I make huge, huge errors, things get really dramatic. Okay. Separate. My computer didn't crash immediately. That's fine. Okay, so let's cheat. I can't. That will not solve anything. Because if I move them out of the way, it doesn't move them up in the order. It doesn't make them any less challenging to select from the list of infinite errors. Whee! And we're scrolling. Fantastic. This hat. My enemy. This hat. We'll just do this. We'll do this simply. We're going to select a few, simple merge, and delete. Not a big deal. This is why we have this victory music going on right now. It's very swashbuckling. Darn-diculous. This is absurd. Yay. Yeah, so I can understand not wanting to put something out there in the universe that makes you look like a dummy. Being that I'm doing this right now. James, how are you? But it was really something I was thinking about just this morning. I made a note about that, about my feeling. I created this beholder image and I posted it somewhere. I thought, oh wow, this will resonate with people. Yeah, not more than anything else. But for all I know, who knows who saw it? Who knows if the algorithm put it in front of anybody? It's very different from what I normally do. I haven't really prepped people to see that kind of work from me. So it's all curious. Can I select? I can't really select the second thing. There's no shift key. I need to link up a keyboard. The latest version of the Mac OS, iOS, for iPad, apparently will allow you to have a keyboard work in one device and then work also for the other device. So there might be a way for me to have a shift key, in which case I could just select all the large puffballs, group them together, and then delete stuff easily. Can I just click the trash can and drag down the list? No, I can't. It's smart enough not to let me do that, because I would have ruined many pieces before now. But if anybody would like to get a free book, I'm not sure who's here. Put this on the screen again. That link will take you to the downloads page on my site. You can just check out and use that code, and you can download any one of my downloadable books. I think it'll work about 100 times before it stops working altogether. I think give away 100 books. Okay, there's a puffball. we'll take my break after I solve these. The puffball crisis of 2022. I wonder, knowing that okay, so that's where the puffball is in that point. So that should highlight, that should light up here. I can select the next one underneath it, and all of these should be related to that particular puffball. And if I scroll all the way down in one movement, one motion, it should speed up this process a lot. Like a charm. Now I have to make sure that that's where the next one's coming from. No, it's coming from over there. Alright, we could do this. Oh no, wait. Can we? We can. So I just need to click there, scroll up on the list, and it's everything south of that, except for the last three. We're learning. No, I still think this one is a stray. We'll get rid of that. But that should be a real selection. Okay, so we're getting there. 1, 2, 3. Why have I done this to myself? Hello. That's what happens when you double click. You become terrified. And this is COVID 2022. Apparently it was created in Nomad Sculpt by a dumb artist who created too many polygons. Oh, 84 years. My pancreas. At least this is working. Yay. So for anyone joining me right now, I'm sorry. I'm correcting a separated number of objects, which were a very, very complicated object that got separated into various pieces. It had to be, because I grouped it with something I need to change the color of. So, I am trying to fix it as best I can. Oh, that's a feather. What am I doing? PB. PB. Oh, I'm using the 3D program Nomad Sculpt on an iPad Pro, and it is a finicky thing. I'm asking it to do too much, I think. But it's doing its best. I don't want to blame it. Thank goodness there's some rhyme or reason to how these things are organized. We're almost there. So it's going to be this coming Wednesday. I'm fairly certain we're going to have a live episode of Pencil to Pencil. I don't want to be the boy who cried podcast. But if you check out the YouTube channel Pencil to Pencil, oh heavens, I deselected. I got all speedy again. That's on me. Happened the last time I got really close to the ending of this. Like, oh, we're in the home stretch. I'll just fall on my face. But if you check out the Pencil to Pencil channel on YouTube and subscribe there, I believe our first episode will be Wednesday. I'm hoping we really get to talk to one of the co-hosts, Jamar, about his recent trip to Texas where he went to a book festival where he was basically treated like the superhero that he is, like the amazingly talented person that he is. And I'm saving this at this point because I think we've accomplished that bit, and I'm going to get a little more coffee. I think I've earned it. I noticed we didn't get any new followers or subscribers during the period where I was deselecting segments of a puffball, and I don't really blame anybody for that. And if we lost followers during that period, I also would understand. My computer is so warm right now. I think the iPad is like, dude, what are you doing? All right, and all of this was about changing the color of the hat. So we're going to sample that nice leather color I like there. And then I'm going to select the other segments of the hat if I can. I've labeled all these segments different dumb things, so I really need to stop doing that. And this is where I go, I don't know if I like that color. And then all right, so I know right now currently that brown is falling into the background, but when I separate it from the background, it'll be its own color, and I think it'll be a lot better. Now I'm going to try reducing the environmental lighting. As much as I love that environmental lighting, that rosy color, that nice bronze color, If I reduce it, it should increase our shadows and make everything a bit more dramatic, I think. And I want to get the shininess of the leather up a little bit more here. I think it's fine. But I don't think I'm going to have trouble with the too much of the texture because, or trouble with the metallic quality of the lighting because the material is so rough. I've roughed the material up so much that I think we'll be okay. Yeah, it has a little more shine. It looks a bit more like leather. I still wonder about the softness of that texture. It's there. I'm gonna bring it out some more. Okay, so let's turn off post-processing. We'll remesh this thing. Actually, tell you what, let's do the thing I just said I need to do is relabel these things. Okay, that's top segment. We're gonna remesh it. Look how little material, little information's involved in that shape. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I did kind of like how the material fell apart as I was working on it. I like that it kind of crumbles. It creates a very neat effect. We're going to start counting from the top of these segments. Every time you remesh something, it gets to the bottom of it. It's put at the bottom of the list. So I'm kind of using that to help organize things as well. I don't know what I'm doing, James. Okay, and we're getting there though. I feel like all this for this really dumb hat. Okay, I'm gonna bring out that leather texture a little bit more. So I want the stamp tool. I'm gonna check the tables nice and flat. That graph that's in the far right, upper right corner, that's exactly the kind of this. Oh, I didn't want to add another point there. Well, I can delete it by hitting remove. This table, we want this to be low and flat, and that will let us control the amount of texture I put in here. Because if it's too tall, the thing will just shoot out like spikes. And we want that, keeping that table flat is what's giving us allowing us to control the height of this thing. That is ridiculous. It's very chocolatey. Okay, let's tweak the color one last time. He says, fingers crossed. And now, because everything's where it's supposed to be... Oh, the ear flaps are not. Are the ear flaps not? They are not. All right, I think that's pretty good. I think if I do anything else, I want to carve in a few more sharp chunks, as if it was hit by a knife or a tree limb or something, to make it a little more irregular. In a few places, not the eyes, probably not the bill. The only other thing I might do is put some stitching in for that are on one foot, just to hold how it's, just to show how it's kind of held in place. Occasionally I show the stitching when I draw it. But I'm gonna refill my coffee cup. That should make my mouth work more effectively. Man, I do not hate that. That's surprising. All right, everybody, check out this beautiful gallery of artwork from some wonderful people. Oh, I saw your that great piece you did, V. It's all up to you whether or not you want to show that or not. I know I couldn't quite tell because you were sort of couching it as a sketch. I thought it was awesome, but you know, I want everyone to have their, you know, show off what they want to show off. So, all right, you wonderful people. I will be back in 5 wonderful minutes. Enjoy the show. And we're back. And that is the finished-ish piece. Let's call it finished for now. I'm sending that to myself. That's ridiculous. I'm so glad you were all here to see how silly that is. All right, next up, we got the next episode of The Middle Age we're going to work on. That is saved in that version. We want our pages here. Now it's going to be a little spoilery. Oh, I saw your note, DEG. That makes total sense. You sure about that? And, all right. So it's spoilery. Avert your eyes if you don't want to see spoilers. I'm going to be doing some inking and some lettering. If I will give you a little bit of a warning here. So the text on the screen is going to tell you some stuff. So if you want to avert your eyes, I'll tell you when you're everything will be clear in a moment. Everything's clear. The lettering is gone. Old man, how dare you? I'm spry. Okay. I'm not sure about the king's profile there. I've drawn it 3 times and I'm not sold on that one yet. So I'm going to move on. But this is that face I was talking about before. But I really like that face. I think that turned out really well. So there's that hat again to vex me. So this is the next episode, episode 280 of The Middle Age. There are some revelations in this one. But I think I came up with a way. Originally there was going to be a joke in here about, you know, the motivations, what makes people evil, and making a bunch of jokes about, you know, that a lot of people will be evil for almost no reason whatsoever. They don't need much of a good reason. But there's no room for that. I think I want to just kind of get through the scene where we learn a few things and we set in motion the events that need to follow. A few surprises, but then ramp up to the finale. But the reaction I love on Webtoons is basically everybody hates this king, which is wonderful because he has one of those very punchable faces, and apparently everybody on Webtoons wants to punch him. I would leave the text on the screen. Again, it'll be there. But I'm not... It's definitely... Everything that happens in this episode is true. I just worry that if I change it the last minute and hold off on a reveal, well, that's what you get to see that because you're here. So, the secret... Among the secrets that is revealed is that the king says that I am not your king. And that was not going to come out for a little while, but based on the cadence of what follows and what they're saying now and what they said in the previous episode, the way the dialogue flows, it's right here. It hits the right moment here. And that's why Quimp's face is like that. And I'm very happy with Quimp's face. If that face didn't look as good as that or as silly as that, I would have probably pushed the surprise back an episode or two. You know, it has to land at the right moment. It doesn't answer much. All it does is it like slides one more. It's a giant thing we're unlocking, and it just slides one tumbler out of the way. It's like, okay, that we can write that off. That something is amiss. And there's also a thing where, as much as I want to have surprises throughout the entire story, and there will be, hopefully, to the last page, you know, there's a tendency, I tend to want to be precious about every surprise. Like, I want to hold on to every single one of them to the last second. And I think the timing presents itself. I think that's what's happened so far. I am not rushing it. 280 episodes in, I have dropped so many hints that it was so challenging to write the dialogue for the king in the scenes that we've had the king in, because the king doesn't say they're the king. You know, they can't. So, but it's all like, is this how you treat your king? And you can hopefully read it all again and go, oh, yeah, no, there's all that checks out. I was trying to make it so that, well, that's the hope. The hope is that it all checks out. But this is also one of those episodes I love. It will change between the actual dialogue that was visible briefly there and will be visible again when I get to the lettering stage. There are these sections where I go, I have so many questions. As Quimp, our hero, has so many questions. And what I love about it is the opportunity to slide other bits of information into the list. Or basically give everybody that moment where someone's recapping everything. It's kind of a recap opportunity. Oh, okay, James. Curious what that is. Is it so James says on a Twitch says, I have a theory on a visual clue that's been around a while, but I won't say it out loud. If it's what I think it is, the number of segments in Bob's Rough, absolutely. That number is significant. Very key to the story. Sorry, I'm being a jerk. That did not work. What a jerk. Which one? Me? Did you start to count the segments of Bob's Rough? or James for keeping his secrets? All right, you have your secrets, Gandalf. But I do like that idea. There were some people who have guessed on Webtoons, and some people guess correctly, and it's like what we talked about for a while. I want 20% of the audience to guess a different 20% every time to guess things as the story is progressing, because that tells me that I've left enough clues that it's fair. If nobody can guess it, if nobody's saying it's this, it's that, it's something else, then that means they're not interested, or that I've been too vague, or I've been too I'm not playing fair, you know. I understand, James. So I appreciate it. You there was a cartoonist, Milt Kniff, and his Steve Canyon comic strip, which was incredibly... I'm sorry, Terry and the Pirates he was working on at the time. So very popular. But he was working so far ahead. And that he would get all this mail. And he said that if people had guessed where he was going, he would get the mail and he'd go, okay, I gotta change that. Too many people are guessing where I'm going. Too many people are getting it right. So I have to change it. So there's a long history of cartoonists switching gears once too many people guess. I don't want that corner of his cape to swoop up. It's like this weird collar that comes back and becomes a cape, but I don't want the edges to poke up because it starts to look like Thanos or something like that. And I already get people saying he looks like Thanos or Darkseid. But I can promise you that the hat of bad deals does not factor into the ending of the story. I wouldn't introduce something so late into the story that the villain is just tempted with this hat. Instead of, why don't we just give you this hat? That's not cool. That's not fair in the writing. That's not a fair way to write a story. I wouldn't like myself if I did that. Hey, Tracy. Nice to see you. So if anybody missed the final version of the Beholder piece that I was working on Tuesday, that's available over in the Discord channel, and it's now available as a shirt from Threadless. So I'm kind of excited about that. I set up a Threadless shop. I also set up Printful merchandise on my WooCommerce store. I'm very impressed by Printful. DEG, among others, recommended Printful. I asked the question, and the flood of answers I got was Printful, Printful, Printful. So everybody seems to be on board with that company. I'm really impressed by the uh, their system, the behind the scenes admin portion of it. I'm really impressed by the sample images you can choose for your products. I think I wish they would say there are some issues I have with sort of how they label things. Um, uh, but in terms of the artwork that you can choose to represent each piece, I love that there are more people of color represented as the models. I mean, I had a client who was doing stuff with Cafe Press, and you know, I'm surprised it's not more like all white people from the 70s. Everyone's got a mustache, handlebar sideburns. It's not that bad. It's like, really? Where's, you know, there's no diversity whatsoever in the choice of models. I tend not to like to include models in the drawing because in the product pages, because I like people to be able to imagine themselves. With leg. But Printful's awesome, and the way it integrates with this, the shipping. The only challenge is if someone's going to order something from my site. Let's say they're going to order some of the hardcovers and a shirt. The shirt gets shipped from them, and the hardcovers come from me because I'm going to sign them. So it's 2 sets of shipping. But I will say what's nice is that their shipping settings integrate nicely into all my existing shipping rules were respected. It was really cool. And I think they have cheaper shipping than I do. If you buy a t-shirt from me, it costs more to ship it than it does wherever their fulfillment centers are and whatever packing they have. Oh, I never put the threads on the feet of the hat we were 3D modeling a minute ago. I might need to go back and do that. I'm really excited about the minis. I'm really hoping that I have some news on that by next week. I think we'll have the first set of 4 minis will be the ones you see in the bottom right there: Bob, Baby Jarn, Quimp, and Melvin. After that, I'm thinking about there might be a bonus 5th one, if as available for an additional purchase if we get to a certain point. Like if the camp, if we have just enough to print that, that's great. But I didn't want to put too many figures in there because then the buy-in price just starts to get too high for anybody to afford, or it gets risky to produce the thing. I don't want to be sitting on tons of figures if nobody wants them. But I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful about how it'll go. And I really like the vendors I talked to. That was really nice. I think they're good people. This hat will vex me today. I drew that king with no problem whatsoever, but the hat, as always, is my big problem. That's a great question, DEG. And the answer why he's drawing this is he has some wires that are loose in his head. So if we get done with the inking, the idea is to finish Bob, finish the king in this panel, do the chainmail and the ornament on the king and Bob and Quimp's costumes. Take one more stab at redrawing that face, so it's less like Bluto from Popeye. Yeah, we'll see what happens after that. And that's who I am. If folks are on the YouTubes and the Twitches, that's who I am right there. I still have no news from Twitch on the affiliate thing, which I've opened a ticket to hopefully reinstate me as an affiliate. So I'll keep everybody posted as I find out more. Mistakes were made, let's not point fingers. I think I have my convention schedule for the year all set, and I've gotten closer to doing those little, what do they call them, panels on Twitch's About page, where the 320 pixel wide little segments that look great on the front page of everyone's Twitch page, and then they stack nicely on the mobile. Such a small amount of space, but I do like the limitation. But I do have my convention schedule. I'll be doing Free Comic Book Day, the first weekend in May, I think, at a comic shop in Reisterstown, Maryland. Cards, Comics, and Collectibles. And then in June, I'll be at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then after that, I will be at... Where will I be next? It's a little while after that. It goes from June until September. So July and August, I currently have nothing, which is nice. More time to sit at the table and draw and stream. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm not going to have that segment flop forward. I'm going to have it lean back. It's getting too cutesy already. And in September, I've got a one-day event in Florida at the Palm Coast Con, PalmCon, in Palm Coast, Florida. Then I've got the Savannah Comic Con the next weekend, and then the Baltimore Comic Con is my last show of the year so far. If those change, or if I get any other conventions bringing me out or something like that, I'll let folks know. Okay, so we're getting there. I gotta draw the feathers. We don't often see the hat from this angle, so I'm just going to kind of make it up. I'm not sure if the feathers kind of... I don't think they're symmetrical, but I mostly just don't want them touching Quimp's face there. That hat is ridiculous. I don't know why anyone didn't stop me. And I'll just put this up here again. If anybody wants to download a free book, I've set up a code for that. So you visit that link for any one of the downloadables on my website and just use that code, and you can download a free PDF edition of any one of my books. Yeah, I think that works. I'm pretty happy with how this panel turned out. I really struggled with this page in terms of how the pacing was going to go, how everything was going to fit. I'm not seeing the code. It should be the code 1 year. If it doesn't fit within the, it's all. Oh yeah, if it doesn't appear in the chat, if it's going beyond the character count, you'll see it right there underneath me. Sorry about that. I know that's a long URL. I probably should have shortened it. Something to do for the next one. Yeah, there was kind of a celebration about it. I noticed on Facebook it was 1 year since my last Kickstarter launched, and it was amazing. It was reprinting my old stuff and a comic I did ages ago, 20 years ago. And the project was funded in about an hour. It wasn't a lot. I wasn't asking for a ton of money, but it was very nice that it got so much support so quickly and very gratifying. So the next Kickstarter will be for the minis, but after that, it's going to be for this book, for Volume 3, which I'm hopeful for. I'm hoping it's successful. I suspect it will be. I'm not going to set the goal super high, but I'm really hoping people are excited for the 3rd volume and that people will, pick up all 3 volumes if they don't have them already. Oh, pushed a cough. Excuse me. Okay. But this reminds me, I want to add those little stitch marks to the hat in the 3D model. Oh, his collar is all askew. I have to fix that. I'm going to flip the drawing. That helps me see some errors sometimes. Although that one was pretty obvious from the get-go. It's a different facial expression for the king. He normally doesn't have his eyes closed. But it mostly just relates to, again, I want them to look like the words they're saying. Okay, put some knuckles in here. That's another tricky bit. He's missing a glove on one hand, and it's like, I always want to make sure I'm drawing the right one. The correct one. Okay, so that's the basic inks. I think the king's crown could have a thicker line around it. Quimp still has that arrow wound from when the arrow went right into his head. Okay, let's see if I can fix the king's face. One last time we'll draw this guy. At least one more time we'll draw this guy. Put him on his own layer and lighten it up. I've really drawn this figure like 5 times. And not... Draw this on the sketch layer, really lighten it up, get a nice big brush so I can draw kind of chunky lines. I'm going to try simplifying it further. I want that swoop to come out a little bit more. I was thinking about it, his beard kind of has this axe handle look, but I was wondering what it looks like from the front. And so now I think it's it's sort of like this drape out a thing that comes out in one direction, kind of a, I don't know if you ever watch, of all things, Babylon 5, the hair of the Centauri, or kind of sweeps back in a weird way. I was thinking this guy's beard might do the same. That's a reference everybody will get. And that's why we have 5s of watchers on this channel. We want more Babylon 5 references. So it was Commander Sinclair in Season 2 of Babylon 5. I know what you're saying. You're saying Commander Sinclair wasn't in Season 2 of Babylon 5. Thank you for being here. I know Twitch offers you many other things to look at, like people playing Elden Ring with it. They're wearing nothing but a snorkel, and they're in a bathtub, and they're playing Elden Ring. And you're here watching an old man draw a silly comic strip. So thank you for being here. Right now, half of you are Googling Elden Ring snorkel. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and the trouble is, the Elden Ring snorkel, the Elden Ring snorkeler. I think that's their Twitter tag, twitch.tv/Elden Snorkel. They always are on when I'm on, so. Okay, I like that better. I think that's better. That's way better. Can't believe you let me use the other one. But thank you for stopping me. I think that's better. Let me flip it and see if I hate it. No, I don't hate it. I want to add all sorts of detail, all sorts of little cartoony bits in here. I'm afraid that they're going to weaken it every step along the way. I have to trust that the color work will carry a lot of this weight, and I don't have to add too much little finery. Yeah, Tracy, yes, excellent. That's exactly what it was. That's why I think that might be my favorite little story in there. I do regret giving. So, inside the story of the Middle Age, it's a story of a knight who's in love with a dragon. At some point along the way, a magic item is revealed, and our hero needed to know what that magic item was, because I could have the character saying, "Oh, what's that?" and then the character would respond, "That's what that is." Whereas it moves the story along if our hero has some information, and so he just volunteers. That's the Helm of Profuri. You know, it increases a dragon the damage of a dragon's breath. That makes the fire burn hotter. And then the question is not what is this thing. It says what it is, and then how do you know? And that. So now the question is not about the thing. It's the question is about the character. How does the character know the thing? How does the character know the information? Not what is the object. So it's changing what the question's about. It's making it about revealing character. And so I'm like, okay, that's the way I want to lean. And So in the course of the story, so he says, oh, I know about that because I have all of, you know, Archmage Angus MacGuffin's collectible trading parchment, unknown artifacts and awful obscurities collectible trading parchments. And that immediately means I have to start making them. So my Patreon supporters would get the occasional unknown artifact and awful obscurity collectible trading parchment, and I collected them into a book when I did a Kickstarter. And so one of my favorite ones in there is, one of my favorite stories in that is the tiny scythe of Pascal Possum, about a possum who is so good at playing dead that death asks him to go pro. A very short story, but I like it a lot. I'm glad you like it, Tracy. Yeah, it has a little bit of a dark turn, but it had death in it. I couldn't not have a dark turn in it. But I was, there's a character in it. So Archmage Angus MacGuffin's unknown artifacts and awful obscurities collectible trading parchment. So Archmage Angus MacGuffin features in the story. I think that's the only picture of him is on the back cover. I think the back cover is included in the PDF. I hope it is. But that's who Archmage Angus MacGuffin is. I might not have included the back cover. That tends to add a lot to the file size. But it makes a lot of references to Archmage Angus MacGuffin's assistant, named Ignominious Fumetti. Oh, good. I'm glad it's there, Tracy. Ignominious Fumetti, which is maybe my favorite name of any character in any story. Because ignominious is ignominious, so that's a perfect name for anybody. And fumetti is the Italian word for clouds, and that's what they call comics. So having a character named Ignominious Fumetti is, I love it so much. Yeah, I like that. I don't hate that at all. It's weird, I've abstracted the ears so much in the comic, it's odd to actually put any more into them. But this angle almost demands it. And for those who don't know, my name is Steve. I am a cartoonist. I stream here on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays. There are links in the doobly-doo for the Discord channel and where you could read my comic for free. And it's on WEBTOONs and my own website and elsewhere. And there's a free book. So if you scroll up in the chat, I think you'll be able to see it. Otherwise, I'll blast it again in a little bit. Certainly before we log off. And I'll put details in Discord as well, so that people don't miss it. Yeah, oh, your stream says it's 3D sculpting, 3D model. I have to figure out how to change that. Because it says it on Twitch, but I don't know where that setting is in my database. This is where DEG is like screaming at the screen right now. I know it. Okay. I'm in Twitch. The trouble is I'm restreaming using Restream. And Restream controls the title of everything, and it says it's just putting me in the art. We go to... Oh, I might have just shut myself off and back on again. Hopefully that didn't happen. I'm gonna see if I can fix this right now. There it is, art, 3D modeling, and drawing. I think it's because I do 3D modeling in addition to in addition to drawing. So I was doing my 3D sculpting at the beginning of this broadcast, and I'll probably do a little bit more before the end of it. So I see why that's there now. Hopefully that's not too confusing to people. If I hit edit, and it says drawing 3D modeling in English. I wonder if I'm supposed to edit that every single time I change things. Okay, so it should be a bit of both. Because I had drawing and then I would be doing 3D modeling, and I felt like, okay, it's... And frankly, I don't even know if I'm speaking English most of the time, so I feel like that might be the part that's the most deceptive. Yeah, we were 3D modeling the hat. Tell you what, let me jump ahead. Let me jump back to that right now. This is the hat we were building. The beautiful hat. As seen in the comic there. What I was going to add was the stitching that holds the legs on. Okay, I can do that. How was I going to do this? I was actually just going to flatten circles. I was going to use a... Oh, nope. I was going to flatten cylinders to do this. So I'm going to increase the topology. That smooths it out. This is how I did the stitches on the Quimp miniature, which will appear in the bottom right corner. The large hero, when you see, he has a shirt and a tabard. Not the tabard. The shirt has stitching along the sides. I used these kind of discs to create that stitching. And it worked fine. So I've been doing it ever since. It's kind of an easy solution. Oh, you can't really see it in that angle. No, you'll see it here. So I'm going to go to the right view. Rotate a bit. I'm going to try to line it up with those duck feet. Go to the front view. Slide it out. Slide it up. Get to the right view again. Scale it down. The angle's off. I'm gonna try to get that angle correct. I basically want it to match the rotation of the leg itself. Local geometry. I'm gonna thicken it a bit more, and then scale it a bit. Rotate it some. Ooh, I can even cheat. I'll put a hole in it. So it's actually going to create a what looks more like stitching. Again, there's no 3D model. I didn't want to have that kind of hole in it when you're going to 3D print the thing, because 3D printing it is, you know, those kind of cavities become hard when people are drawing with essentially just hot plastic. You know, it's being poured. So I'm going to validate the shape right there. Shrink it a little bit more. Okay. Keeping local geometry of that thing on. When I duplicate it and slide it out, it should move along that same axis, and it's doing that. So I like when things accidentally behave themselves. Rotate them a little bit more. A very little thing, but I wanted that effect. I'm going to use the same color of the puffball. I'm going to sample that. And then select those 3 cylinders. Simple merge. And paint. A really simple thing. I didn't want to... Tell you what, I'm going to make it a little darker. I don't want them to call that much attention to themselves. Make it like they're little leather... Sweet. You turn off our reference. Turn post-processing back on. That adds some effects. Reference, go away. View. And that's our ridiculous hat. So I jump back and forth between working in cartooning in Procreate and then 3D modeling in Nomad Sculpt. And all those minis in the bottom right were all done in Nomad Sculpt. All live on the stream. So I'm kind of learning the software along the way. This is for an illustration. I do these illustrations. I'm going to have them pop up below me here, covering the chat for a moment. So I create them in 3D in this program, Nomad Sculpt. I bring them over into Photoshop, and then I just start splashing them with color and use them as basically the starting point for the next illustration. Kind of creating classic D&D type illustrations. So, but of ridiculous objects like the Hat of Bad Deals. Okay, let's save that so I don't lose the work. I've earned another sip of coffee. Surprised my computer wasn't yelling at me because I still had Twitch open in the other monitor. But I'm glad it just says 3. So if it says 3D modeling, it's because I'm jumping back and forth. What I need to do is have a episode subject somewhere on the screen where it says, today we're working on this. Okay, quit out of that. Much better version of the king than what I had before. It kind of feels like a Yves Chalon drawing. Yves Chalon was this French artist whose work I love, love, love. You should check out his work. It is very clean, graphic, really beautiful stuff. And I don't try to draw like him, but this piece kind of has that vibe. This figure does anyway. So that's me actually liking my work. It doesn't happen often, but okay, sweet. So that's our inks. I'm going to go in and add the texture for Quimp's collar and the ornament on the king's uniform. So because I have all those sketchbooks that are available for downloading from my site, I end up saving a lot of the steps along the way, even if I don't use them, because I will take these layers and bits and pieces and assemble them into a sketchbook. So I do save them. I just put them in a grouped layer. There was also this panel I thought I was going to use. Let's see if I increase the opacity. I created this lovely silhouette of the family at one point in the previous episode for 279, episode 279, and I never got to use it. I thought this was a lovely image, but I had to cut it out. It just didn't fit. It's a real shame. The dragons have real personality, even just in silhouette. I tried to figure out a way to use it in this episode, but the facial expressions are just too important. I can't take any shortcuts right now. It's bad enough that we've moved the camera up so you can't see Phosphonate laying there. Not because I'm hiding her, but because there's so much dialogue. It's kind of... I don't do a lot of talking head comics panels or episodes like this. I've earned it. I think I've earned it. There was a sword fight 3 episodes ago. You know, I try to balance the action and all the fun stuff and the excellent, and hopefully excellent staging and fun sets. But every once in a while, it's just, you know, a close-up, a bunch of close-ups. So I did make sure to bring the baby dragons in and kind of have a, you know, it's more fun to look at than just Quimp talking to the king, I hope. So the king's ornament is usually a dark color, very small brush. lot of fiddly bits. And if anyone's interested, there is a link below for the Discord, the Department of Cosmological Chicanery and Metaphysical what have you. You are invited, cordially invited, to join the Discord. Actually, I have to flatten that up a bit more, erasing that. We're sort of looking at these at an extreme angle. The cuff is sort of like, I don't know, like looking at the shirt cuff here. It should be very flat, and so I have to hint at that somehow. So there's music at about the 2-hour mark, which is extremely loud. And then whatever music this is at the, I don't know, hour and 10-minute mark is very quiet. I think. Yeah, I have my audio way up and I'm not hearing a thing. These are all tracks from Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech, so I apologize for the super quiet. But don't worry, I think the stream will end before the next time we hear the guerrilla combat music from Planet of the Apes. Oh, I've got the artwork still up there. Let me get this out of the way so you can see the chat again. Sweet. Okay. I feel like this could have been better, but I don't know if anyone will even see it with all the stuff going on in this comic strip. So after these little bits of ornament are done, I will be working on the lettering, the word balloons. The lettering's on a separate layer at the moment. So you'll have a few moments to, I'll warn everybody if you want to wait until the next episode posts. Again, my scripts changed until the very last moment. So there's no saying that this is the dialogue you see here or the balloons that I'm drawing here will even be in the final one, but I'm feeling fairly confident about that at the moment. So if it changes, then there'll be super spoilers, because I don't think there's anything I write in here that I would change at this point. No, it's all. I had an epiphany, I think, where I'm like, oh, I should definitely have this happen now. It's like, oh, this is going to happen 3 episodes from now or 4 episodes from now. I'm like, no. It should happen in this episode. I will cut one joke and we'll bump it up. So we're not really in a laugh riot phase of the comic, although there's some cute moments coming up, I think. That's fine, Tracy. Right now I've got this ornament to do, so I don't think what you see in this particular episode, I don't think is too spoilery. It's hard to say. Tracy was saying that she's not caught up with the comic, so going to try and not pay attention to the art. Which I think makes a lot of sense. Every time there's a trailer or a YouTube video talking about the new Doctor Strange movie, I'm like, nope, don't want to know it. Don't want to see it. I want to be surprised. But I think that comes out the weekend of Free Comic Book Day, so it will probably be ruined for me at Free Comic Book Day. So Free Comic Book Day is an event. It's annual. It's been moved around the calendar because of the last few years and all the craziness. But you can go to your local comic book shop, and they have comic books that are free to try out. It's each comic shop has its own rules for how many you can have and that sort of thing, but it's great to go to a local shop and pick up some fun stuff. I don't have anything. I'm hoping that maybe next year, I was trying to have it for this year, that I would debut a print version of The Middle Age, a comic book version of The Middle Age. I would love to see if I can make that happen for 2023. Just to reach a whole new audience. I think that'd be fun. I think there's a lot of dedicated readers of comic books, and they don't have any idea that my comic exists. I like the idea of having my work in front of them, especially at that time next year when this major storyline is wrapped, this arc is wrapped, and there's plenty of content to take a look at. Content. There's plenty of silly drawings to look at. think that's done. I do have a print version already, James. It's I have multiple collections of it already, but they're not available in comic book stores. There's no way I as a independent publisher, I can't really make the economics of comic book stores work. And I was trying to find a comic book publisher who would put my comics in stores, but a lot of them have peculiarities that make it not a non-starter for me. Okay, I could do his chainmail. I feel like that's going to drive people to tears. Instead, I could work on more silly illustrations and work on the chainmail later when people aren't watching me stream the chainmail. And that would also save people the spoilery problems of the word balloons. Oh, I gotta fix his crown. I'm gonna weigh it. Maybe I'll work on the that other D&D type illustration. That way I'm not spoiling it for anybody. And so the print versions, I do have soft covers available from Amazon, and then hard covers available from my own website, which I do through as Kickstarters. But I would do a modified version of the comic to fit comic book proportions and have that available as individual floppy comic books. I know some people don't like hearing them called floppies or whatever, but you know, just as the pamphlet version of comics. Because I don't know, there's just a huge market of people who read comics, and they're just used to paying for comics too, whereas online nobody's used to paying for anything, at least for entertainment. Sweet. I think the king's profile could be improved a bit. Just soften that line a little bit. Just give it more of an angle so it's not just the straight edge. How are we doing on time? 7:30. We're doing great. Doing great. Okay. That crown also, I might move it to... Dang, I'm on the wrong label. Wrong layer. More like that. Or maybe just closer to the front of the figure and not just like over the crest of the skull. I feel like it's a little bit off. It's definitely off. Okay, I can fix it. Something like that. I think that's better. I'm going to flip the whole thing so I have a better sense of what I'm looking at. Yeah, that's way, way better. Alright, I'll fix that. So the brush I'm using is a Procreate brush that I've created basically over the years as I've worked on this comic. It's free to download from my website. It's free to download from my Patreon page. If you go to patreon.com/Steve Conley, put that up. If you go to patreon.com/Steve Conley, you can download that brush for free. What do I do at Free Comic Book Day prior to having floppies? When I go there, I have my other books. I have postcards that I hand out. I do sketches for kids, things like that. So I'm brought in as kind of a, as just as an artist, and I just do sketches for people all day. I try to do that. It's killed my hand in the past. Like, my hand's aching at the end of the day. I've also done prints. Like, I'll have a set of 50 prints or 100 prints, and I'll just sign them for people all day long. So they get something from an artist. I'll put like a little Quimp head sketch in the corner, that sort of thing. I also do what I'm doing here, which is, I'll have like a free book to download that day and say, hey, everyone, if you want to download a free comic, here it is. You don't have to go to a comic shop. You don't have to, if you don't live anywhere near a comic shop or you're missing out on the fun, here, get a free comic book. I love that they do the event. I just really want to be involved. And the thing was, I started the process to get involved for this year, and it just got away from me. I think I reached out like a week too late. It's all the spots are reserved early. There's a jurying process to have your book be considered to be given away. I mean, there's nothing stopping me from making 100 copies of a comic book and just handing it out, but I kind of want it to be a first step into this new relationship with comic book readers. And basically it's all an ad for my Patreon and my next Kickstarter. But it's also the thought that the Batman comic and the first appearance of Spider-Man and the first appearance of Superman were reprinted hundreds of times, probably really hundreds of times, in all sorts of formats, just to get the story out there, to build an audience to buy the later issues and to support the thing. And I kind of feel like that's what I have to do. I have to get this out in front of so many people that the handful of people who actually might like it will become aware of it. It's just so interesting is trying to get the word out for a brand new thing. I mean, it's everybody in this channel knows. Everybody on Twitch knows. And everyone on YouTube. They're all just trying to get a little bit of light shown on them. And I was talking about this the other day where, out of nowhere, Colleen Duran, an artist who worked on Sandman and A Distant Soil and tons of projects. Wonderful artist. Out of nowhere, she just retweets or tweets a link to my comic and just says, like, this is made of fun. I don't know, Colleen. It's just the nicest thing happened, and like out of nowhere. And I just think that if this had happened 3 or 4 years ago, when Twitter was kind of this outward-facing thing where an outbound link like the one she posted would have gotten a ton of attention. But as it stands, it was like, that was it. It was nice. It was a lovely tweet. I reached out to her. I thanked her so much, and that quote is on my website now. It'll be on the back cover of the next collection. But it didn't result in like a flood of new people finding me. And I don't know if it's because of Twitter. I think it's because of the way the systems are just set up now. It's like really hard to find an audience. And so we're all like out there just drawing our stuff or making our music or playing our games and trying to have people discover this little thing we're doing. Yeah, I need Elon to get on board. It's like these are like NFTs, but made of atoms. They're like artwork that you could, but there's no bragging rights to having my comic, It's not that sort of thing. I'm just doing a silly comic, and it's just nice that every once in a while someone notices. I'm so lucky to have the Patreon support I have, and and even just the nice people on Twitch. I see 7 people are on Twitch right now. How nice is that? My name is Steve. I'm a cartoonist. I'm drawing the next episode of my webcomic, episode 280. All the previous ones are free to read online at middleagecomic.com, and links in the doobly-doo. And I do some 3D modeling on this channel as well. I was doing some a little bit earlier. If you check out the earlier in the stream. 3D modeling the hat of bad deals. And I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. How are we doing on time? We're doing great. Sweet. I think that's done. This ornament that I put on the king's crown and the cuffs and the collar and all that stuff, that I turned to a light gray later on, so it's kind of just adds texture and a little bit of finery to the king's ensemble. Oh, I'm missing some right there. So I think when I'm done with this, I'm going to go back to working on that D&D style illustration. I think there's some work I can do with the various tendrils and things, and that will be fun to work on without working on the chainmail texture, which I know is it's a lot of work for me and not that much fun to watch. James says, next time I'm in the middle age, deal or bad deal? I don't have any idea how the hat of bad deals works. I just had to explain in the story why our hero would give up their scabbard and glove for it. You know, or why everybody would want it. So, I think it must be cursed to the wearer and everyone around the wearer, who suddenly wants to give up everything they have for it. Or it just doesn't have to be an epically bad deal, you know. It just has to be a bad deal. I'm trying to craft rules for Dungeons and Dragons for 5e for how the hat of bad deals would work. I think it's just has to be a stupid deal, and you have to fail a wisdom saving throw or something like that, or intelligence saving throw. Sweet. Okay. I could put the borders in. I have a bunch of borders I've already built that I end up slicing and dicing each time, just to save myself some time, since everything is so laborious. Inks. We're going to call that folder. And often I pick them just which one's closest to what I already have going on. That's pretty close. Let's use that. So I just set this layer to be lightly opaque, and then I clean up the borders and delete pieces of them and slide them around. And then when I do my color flatting on my desktop computer, and then I bring it back into Procreate on the iPad and I color it there. But the color flatting on the desktop is just so much faster for me. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just cut and paste, and then flip, and then slide. Oop. I have to put snapping on. That's basically locks. It's like having the shift key when you're it's like holding the shift key down when you're using a desktop computer. And a lot of these borders will be I'll change them. Like if they're going to interact weirdly with a figure in some way, I will change the borders. You can set your ink layer to reference and then drag and drop color to another layer. Oh, that's true. So if you are new to the channel, please consider giving it a follow. I'm not a Twitch affiliate at the moment. Getting there. I was there for a minute. I unaffiliated myself, disaffiliated myself, and I'm in their, hopefully in their system, going to be reaffiliated soon. So I think a lot of nice drawing is getting cropped off here. So I'm going to scooch my inks up a little bit. I really like that hand, and I really want to make sure the eyes of that baby dragon are above the border there. So I'm going to scooch them both up. So I'm going to select the inks and just inch it up, tap it a few times. And if I have to go in there and add a little bit of line work to fill in any gaps, I'll do that. Yeah, I think that works. I don't think I have any other gaps here. Yeah, I really like that hand. I'm gonna clean up the border where it's touching that pinky, because I don't want it to interfere with that. Sweet, that's done. How we doing on time? 7:46. We're doing great. So we're gonna flip this back the other way, and this is how it's actually going to run. And so the Quimp's armor needs to get the chainmail texture put on the collar and cuff and sleeve. There's not a lot of it. I think this disc needs a little bit of ink too. I gotta fix something right here. Like if the disc, he has these two shoulder discs, so I think the line would be like that. Oops. Alright. So let's work on that other illustration and see if we can do that before. Does it really feel like I'm fast with these? I feel like I'm dragging terribly slowly. I watched David Peterson do his commissions, and they're like so quick. They seem to be very quick to me. All right. But there's a ton to figure out of how to. What I'm thinking about doing is just trying to make this illustration just. I had all these various layers where I want to play around with depth, and I'll go back to. And actually, I think I have it here. I want to play around with the depth of the figures. So they're all on separate layers where I can have glows and fades and other watercolor splashes coming up behind the magic user or behind the warrior or the fighter. But it got so complicated. And I don't think it was adding much to it. It was adding... I don't know. But maybe that's part of the secret of a good D&D illustration is the kind of ridiculously, the over-the-top quality of it. But I really wanted to redraw all those faces of these little creatures. I thought they were too cutesy there, and I want to make them more, you know, it goes from that, which is fine, but that's better. You know, that's crazier, and I want them to be deranged looking. I think I also, the circles of the irises, they were very round, and I made them more irregular, and I think that makes them even weirder looking. So I think that's pretty effective. Okay, let me see if I can. These are on their own document, aren't they? They are. And I've started putting shading in there. I think I want to do that. I think I do want to have kind of manual gradient shading. I'm not going to do this with color. Like, so this kind of shading on the eyeball there, the kind of roundness that those lines are giving it, I want to add that. And I'm doing them on their own layer so it's easy for me to clean up later. So even if those effects go outside the lines, I can erase them easily without ruining the other lines because they're on their own layer. Yeah, I thought the other version of this page of this illustration was done, but then I'm like, these faces could be better. We talked a little bit about it on Tuesday where they were showing my hand a bit too much. In the last version, I put a ton of modeling onto the eyes themselves, like heavy shadows and things like that. I need to do that same thing here. I think that adds a lot. So I'm assuming my light source is coming like this. There's another light source with the lightning bolt that's like that. I'm gonna leave those arrows there for now as a reminder. I forget, did I give reflected light? I did. Because it's like, I can either have that room for reflected light in there, or I could go in and just go pure black. Let all that weight, that heaviness. I don't know. I'm going to start with the reflected light, and we'll see what happens. And if I like it, we'll keep it. James, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, I think that the idea with this illustration is that hopefully people don't see that. That should be the last thing they see. There's a wonderful illustration by an artist named Jim Steranko, a cartoonist. Did a lot of comics in the late 60s, early 70s. And he did this pulp noir comic called Chandler. And he did a poster for it. It's all black and white. It's this office scene. And I know it's not the most dramatic, it's not the best sales description of the thing, but it's basically a murder scene. And I think there's a crime taking place, an attack of some kind. And oh no, that's not it. It's a scene. Clearly, it's telling the story. This whole room is like, it's all black and white, and looking at this scene, and there's clearly a lot of stuff going on, and you see our hero, or the hero, the detective, coming through the door, the silhouette of their revolver on the door, all very dramatic. And the last thing you see really in the scene is, after seeing, you're processing all this stuff, and the last thing you see really is behind the door a person with a garrote, like just the silhouette of their hands holding this thing, ready just to go around the person's neck, the hero's neck, as soon as they come through the door. And it tells a story. It's kind of this thing. I wanted this to feel, in a very dumb way, similar, where you see the action, there's the lightning bolts, there's the monsters' faces, there's all this snarling stuff distracting you from the, oh, is that a butt? Oh yeah, this is the opposite end of the literally the opposite end of that, the other end of the spectrum on this piece. This is very old school D&D type illustration, like metal music, van artwork. I think I mentioned I wrote a brief for this piece, like saying that, and for all the pieces that I'm going to do for this little project, was just designed to try to get me into the headspace of creating this art. You know, it's got to be this kind of Cheetos and Doritos and Coca-Cola fueled fever dream of, you have to think that your favorite movie is The Empire Strikes Back, and Rocky IV, and you have to hope that every movie that comes out is a sequel to Empire Strikes Back, and you have to love the music of Rush, and who else? I'm drawing a blank. Like everything from Ozzy Osbourne. It's basically, you have to be like the put yourself in the mindset of the people who were drawing D&D in the early 80s, and the kind of unironic fun they were having. You know, it's not a mature palette. You know, it's not sophisticated. The most highbrow thing you would look at would be Boris Vallejo. You know, occasionally Frazetta, yeah, of course, but Boris really speaks to you. All the shines and all the stuff. It's a really interesting mindset. AC/DC, yeah. I'm revisiting. Hey, Cave Geek Art. I'm revisiting that piece a bit. In that, these were the faces I had before. And they were kind of a little too cutesy, so I was making them more dramatic, more teeth, more distracting from the kind of punchline of the piece. Before that, I was working on some other stuff, like really weird 3D models and the latest episode of The Middle Age, but I had a little extra time left over, and instead of boring people to tears with chainmail, I thought I would do something like this. I'm still not sure if I'm sold on that lighting. I think what I have to do in order to make the reflected lighting work is I can't have these lines because they break up the reflection. So I have to trim them back, sort of like the way this forehead, this brow is working. Because I do think I want to have the over-rendered approach. I think that's key. It can't be over-rendered. There's no such thing. In this brief, it's impossible to over-render. So I'll duplicate the inks and I will clean them up a little bit. Not because they're too much, but because I have to make room for more. Where are the pupils? Irises. I keep calling the wrong thing. Okay, so shading. We select. There's something on this layer. What's on this layer? Okay, that's the shading. That's the eyeball shading. That's not how you spell it, but we know what I mean. All right. And we'll see if this works. Oh, and if anybody's interested, there's a Van Art murals. Yeah, absolutely. That was absolutely part of the I have to find that brief. Let's see if I can find it. It's not poetry. What? Okay. The goal isn't for this piece to be funny or ironic. It's not the goal. The goal is for the piece to be awesome, seriously awesome. Channel your inner 15-year-old. This has to be a Dorito and Twinkie-fueled fever dream. You have 3 artistic influences: Frank Frazetta, Barry Windsor Smith, and a van you once saw parked outside the mall, airbrushed with a blood-soaked warrior maiden wielding a flaming crystal axe standing atop a pile of neon skeletons. Your musical tastes are exclusively Rush and Black Sabbath. You'd be perfectly happy if every new movie were a sequel to Empire Strikes Back and heavy metal. Art can never have too many swords, hair, fangs, or abs. More is always better. More is always better. That seems to be like the recipe for the illustrations in the old D&D books. I love them. I love them so much. Again, they're unironic. There's nothing cynical about them. Passionate, crazy artists, teenagers being paid to draw monsters for Dungeons and Dragons. That was like Jeff D. and Errol Otis, Bill Willingham. That's brilliant. Did Steve take an online quiz? I'm a Rachel. Go figure. No, once again, which friend are you? I came back as Gunther. No, that ridiculous description was kind of the brief of the of this whole drawing, this particular project, that this is just a snippet of. Oh, it's 8:04. My goodness, we're running late. Okay, you lovely people, you're fantastic. I'll keep working on this. Thank you so much. What have we learned? Oh, for the love of Biggie Boo, hello. You're fantastic. I'll call this piece back up. We'll hang out for a bit. That's so great. You've joined me as I'm working on a very ridiculous illustration. I'll call up the main version of this. That's so nice of you. I really appreciate it. Welcome, Raiders. My name is Steve. I'm a web cartoonist and have been for a very long time. You can check out my webcomic in the links below. Oh, and there's a free book for everybody if you want it. Let me see, how do I do this? Well, I really appreciate it, Biggie. That's so sweet of you. What kind of work do you do? What do you do? Tell me about your stream. I know if you got to run, I get it, but if everybody wants a free book, I've got one from download from my website. And the dramatic music's just kicking in too. So you'll see a link in chat, and the code 1 year you might see below me here. Working on panels for your webtoon. Oh, that's awesome. Is it published yet? Is it one we can check out? Oh, sweet. But if you're new to this channel, please consider giving it a follow. I'm very new to this Twitch thing, and I could use all the support in the world. Go back to my previous illustration I was working on. Oh no, that was the same one. I just covered it up. Oh, there we go. Rune. It's a good name. Dang nabbit, their system. You click on it, it shows you the page for half a second, and takes you right back to the home page. Biggie boo. Fantastic. Well, you just got one more subscriber. I can't wait to read it. Fantastic. This music. All right. Yeah, it does it on the app. It does it from Twitter. It does it from all those different places. Well, that's awesome. That's so nice of everybody to come on over. I was about to cancel. I got to step away. YouTube folks, I'm going to say goodnight. Twitch folks, hang out for another minute. Thank you again, YouTubers.